I'll tell you the story in Los Angeles that's a blessing, and that is we're talking about Bronny James. We're talking about Bronny James, Liv, being alive today. It's just a story that shocked us all. We saw that Bronny James, cardiac arrest, taken to the hospital, initially in intensive care, and now out of intensive care in stable condition. We're still waiting for further updates on his situation. I think, to me, Liv, bigger than basketball. Whether he plays basketball again or not, don't care. I'm just happy that we're talking about a healthy Bronny James today. What did you think when you saw this story?
Well, I kind of had a mixed view on the situation. I actually put a tweet out there that blew up. I was dealing with trolls all day yesterday, which is fine. I think my immediate reaction is same as most people that have morals, which is I'm glad he's okay. It's like you said, it's bigger than the game. I just have a super big problem with anyone that took that opportunity to make it about anything other than his health and the fact that he's alive. By that, I mean, there were some, morons with even some political statements that didn't need to be made. I think the reality is that's not what this is about. The health of these players is the most important. We saw that even in the NFL season with Damar Hamlin last season. It's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than any political agenda somebody wants to try to turn this into. I was very disappointed in some of the people that I saw tweeting and reacting to this and immediately thinking they're a doctor with a PhD. No, you're a troll on Twitter with Twitter fingers. Settle down. You have no idea what you're talking about. None of us have any information about what happened. And the only thing we should be concerned with is the fact that he is alive and he is okay. So anybody that had a different tone of voice and wasn't focused on his health and the fact that he's here and praying for his family, shame on you. You are not a doctor. Let's let the professionals handle it. And in the meantime, let's pray for a speedy recovery. That's all we can do at this point.
Yeah, everybody goes into armchair diagnosis, Michael, as you know, when things like this happen. All of a sudden, people have PhDs. People went to MIT. People went to the best medical schools in the country. People are doctors without borders. People are scientists. People are chemists. Like all of a sudden, everyone's resume gets a lot deeper when things like this happen. I think that Liv hit it right on the head. First and foremost, it's about the health. This is a young guy. It's scary that somebody in top shape, and we're seeing this with athletes across the board. Same with Damar Hamlin, same with some other college athletes, professional athletes over the course of these past few years, even being in situations like this, because athletes are supposed to be in the top tip shape, and they're dealing with situations that are not normally something you associate with someone who's in incredible shape. With that said, I think that, everyone's jumping to conclusions about will Bronny play basketball again? Here's the reality of situations like this. Sometimes these things just happen. There's no underlying condition. There's nothing that's going to prevent him from doing what he wants to do in the future. Sometimes things just happen, and the body has a way of miraculously healing itself, and things happen once and they never happen again. I know that LeBron really wants to play with Bronny in the NBA, whether with him or against him, but people are crazy if they think that LeBron, Savannah, that entire family would jeopardize the health of their son if there is a possibility that this is something that he will be dealing with for the long term, just so that storyline can happen. If Bronny steps back on the court, it's because he is healthy enough to do so, that it's been cleared by doctors, probably multiple layers of doctors, and let's let the family and the professionals make that decision. Let's not go ahead and play doctor, because last time I checked, none of us have MD at the end of our names. We're on TV for a reason. Like it's not the same thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Ashley and Liv, you're right. It's about his health. And I just want to point out a couple of things and draw your attention to a story that maybe you don't know about. I'll tell you about that in a second. But as far as Bronny's career, well, we don't know. USC dealt with a situation like this recently. They got a young man, a center, 7-footer, 235 pounds. He collapsed during workouts. Their staff resuscitated him, gave him CPR. He came back. I think it took him about 6 months 6 months to make his USC debut, but he did play. So, every situation is different. So you can't say, hey, just because this happened to Bronny, his career is over, or you can't say he'll bounce back. We just don't know. Like every situation, has its own little nuance to it. And I'll point out to you that, although this is rare, there are some examples that have happened here. And I think this brings attention to just increased physicals, increased heart checks. A guy here in Boston, known him for a long time, a business owner named Daryl Settles, and his wife is a doctor, a medical doctor, and their son, 14, 15 years old, playing a basketball game, collapsed during the game. He told one of his teammates, I feel dizzy, or my chest doesn't feel right. He collapses during the game, goes into a coma. Unfortunately, he died. But the father, and this is amazing, the family really wanted to, and they're heartbroken clearly, but they wanted to make they wanted to bring light to his situation. And so his father is going around talking to colleges, talking to high schools, talking to anybody who will listen, saying, we need to have the proper equipment at games, and we need to be thoroughly checking these young people. Sometimes you don't check because, hey, they're 14, 15, as you said, in great physical condition. Yeah. Why would anybody think that something could be wrong? But we have to go in with these preventative measures just in case, because these instances have happened pretty, relatively, it's been frequent. More than we used to, more than we'd expect.
Michael, not only that, but it's also important to train your athletic staff correctly, because Damar Hamlin was saved by an assistant to the physician, the team's medical physician. It wasn't even the main guy. Same thing at USC. They knew exactly what to do when it happened. Those first few minutes are everything between life and death, and making sure that your staff, from the manager to the assistant to the assistant's assistant, are all prepared in case something like this happens, is so instrumental in making sure that if this does continue to happen, which it will, that there's more he's okay than we didn't get there in time. That's everything. That's so important. And that should be what the focus is, proper training, in addition to figuring out the science behind why this is happening to such young people at an alarming rate. And it only seems to increase percentage-wise each and every year. But we have to go ahead and combat the time that we are in by training the people who are working with these athletes and making sure that if it does happen, you are ready to go and you know exactly what to do.
I think also, and Liv, I'll end with this and I'll give you the final word. Sometimes I'm just sitting around looking at just things in life that are outside of the sports realm. And I say to myself, you'd be a fool, talking to myself, you'd be a fool to hot take that. That's not really something that has a take. That's just, you really got to sit back and just let that happen. We don't have to have an opinion on everything.
Right.
We don't have the expertise. So why in the hell people come in with political angles and personal angles and hating angles on something like this? Liv, can you help me out here? I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand your neighbors, not my neighbors, your neighbors. Trying to understand them.
Not my neighbors. Don't
not
put that
my neighbors
either.
No, I do not live by these people. No, honestly, I don't understand it, because I'm a firm believer, stick to what you know. And at the end of the day, I don't know anything about what is going on with Bronny. And this is something that when people are pushing whatever agenda that they have, I was seeing conspiracy theorists coming out of the woodworks yesterday talking about this situation. For what? This has actually been happening for a long, long time, where you see young athletes that have heart issues. This isn't just something that is just relatively new. The only difference is we're seeing it more because this phone that we have at our, disposal taps us into anything that we want to know. We were finding out about Bronny probably as he was on his way to the hospital. That is where we're at in our world, where we're able to tap into these situations and feel like we are like personally involved. And that's where people get a little carried away. They insert their opinion into things that have nothing to do with them. But because of our easy access to information, we feel like, you know, it's our place to put our opinion out there. At the end of the day, it's not. This has nothing to do with, you know, there are no opinions needed in this situation. At the end of the day, he went and he got care from professionals, and they're going to make their diagnosis, and they're going to either clear Bronny with time, or they're going to tell us that he's not ready to play for a while. And whatever they decide to do, I trust those professionals. You've got people on Twitter. I saw people on Twitter. They're like, well, how do we know if they're telling us the truth? I don't know. Same way, you know, when you drive yourself to urgent care, they're going to make you feel better. If you don't trust them, then don't use them when you're sick. You use them when you're sick. So let's trust the science. Let's trust the professionals. And really, there should be no opinions added to this. The only thing that matters is that we are giving our thoughts and prayers to a speedy recovery, and not just a speedy recovery, just a recovery. If it takes time, it takes time. But I think his health is the most important. And anybody that's not on the same page either needs to figure out their morals or just keep their mouth shut.
Michael, that's a really nice way. That's a really nice way of saying, if y'all would read something besides Reddit threads on the dark web, you would know this was happening pre-COVID. So pick up a book, use Google. Google is free. Information is free. Go read things besides Twitter. There's a lot of information out there. And pre-COVID, young people were still having cardiac arrest. So if you're going to find a scapegoat, COVID itself
is causing issues for people. And we can't control whether we got that or not, whether you got whatever you did to prevent COVID. If you decided to go one way or the other, I'm not even going to speak I'm going to just go beat around the bush here. If you decided to go one way during the pandemic, great. If you went another way, great. At the end of the day, we could not stop the spread of this thing. You were getting sick regardless. Okay. And there are studies that show COVID has a long-term effect on people's bodies, whether it be in the lungs with respiratory, whether it be cardiac with your heart. These are things that are happening. So anybody that just was so quick to go to, oh, I know exactly why Bronny collapsed during his workout. No, you don't. You're an airhead. They don't even know. You have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't even know if that boy even got the vaccine. They're just making things up as they go. Like, mind your business. Stop playing with people's kids, because that's how, Michael, you know, you can cross a lot of lines, but don't come for people's kids. That's what you don't do, as you know.
Yeah, people are crazy.
That's right. That's right. Well said.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.